What up, YouTube? Today we're going to go over attempting to refinish the plastic wood trim on your 2003 to 2011 Lincoln Town Car. The original lamination tends to peel off pretty badly on these, especially when they get wet. So in this video, we're going to go ahead and attempt to repair that and put a fresh laminate or clear coat back over it to make it look brand new again. Stay tuned. Alright, so we're going to get started here. We've got a few fasteners that hold on the panel. We pull these clips off here. Yours may or may not be that loose. You may have to use a flathead screwdriver to take these off. These little tabs here can sometimes get broken. So we're going to take two screws out there. Then we've got a little cover here. I don't know why it's not focusing. There we go. We got a little cover there that needs to come off. And there's a Torx screw behind that. And I believe that the size, that's a T30 Torx on that. And then in this carpet hole and that one, we've got more Phillips head screws. So we'll take all of those out. We're taking these screws off for the door pull. There's one. And then the other one here. Here's the bottom one. You just got to line it up somehow. You got to find it. There we go. And there it is. They're about that long. And there's three of them. Right, so now we're going to pop this out with a flathead screwdriver. Be very careful not to scratch anything. I've got mine held on with some butyl tape. A lot of these will break in the car. And I use this tapey stuff here to hold it on. And then there is our Torx bolt, the T30 that we got to take out. And we're going to go all around the edge on the outside and start pulling it off. And if you got weak clips like mine, yours might just kind of pop right off. Then we'll work on the connectors. So I find it easiest to go ahead and take this out first, actually. You stick a pry tool into the back corner as well as under the front, and then this whole thing should kind of pull up for you. And then, if it's not stuck on something here, it's like stuck on the door panel somehow. Anyway, then we can unplug our connectors, which are just the push tab style. You push in on the tab and pull out just like that. That's pretty much the same thing for all four of them. These ones are going to be tabs like this. The tabs are going to be kind of towards the back side. So you just push and pull. So once all that's done, you can pull your panel off, and you've got all these circular little holders there that are what holds these little clips in place here. Some of mine are broken and missing, but they should be on there a little more tightly. But yeah, everywhere that you see one of those is where one of these little clips are supposed to be. A couple of mine are stuck in the door because the spot that they go is broken. There's not a whole lot I can do about that, but we've got these three connectors here that need to be taken off as well. This middle one, you just lift this tab up and pull out. This one has a push-in tab at the bottom, and then this one also has a push-in tab at the bottom, and then you can disconnect those and remove your panel completely. Alright, so these little black spots here that look like kind of melted plastic there, those are actually what holds in the wood. So I've gone ahead and taped it off. We're just going to try to repair it inside of the door, because there's really no way we're going to be able to get that out and put it back in successfully, just due to the fact of how they put it on there. They just kind of swedged it in there with melted plastic. But as you can see, the clear coat's pretty bad. I think the old lady that owned this before me would grab the door pull to close it, and I think she must have worn her wedding ring with that hand. That's the only way I can think of how this would be so messed up behind the door pull. It's actually supposed to look all like this. This is actually kind of decent on the front, but as you go back, it looks pretty bad. And it's all from just age, and also what mainly does it is when this stuff gets wet, it really starts to peel off. So that's exactly what I'm going to do to try to get all of it off of there. We're going to get it a little bit wet, and then we're going to take a really high grit sandpaper and try to remove what's left of the original protective coating. Alright, so I got it wet. You can use water. I just grabbed the closest thing I had that I thought would work. It's just some speed shine for the outside of your car. Anything should work just fine as long as it's wet. Water is probably the preferred, but I'm going to let that sit and soak on there for a minute, and then hopefully it'll cause that clear coat to start getting all crusty like it does when it gets wet, and then I'm just going to try to sand everything off of there. Well, I got as much of it off of there as I reasonably could. I think I went a little too heavy in this spot with the sanding, so hopefully that doesn't look absolutely terrible. Probably going to look pretty similar to that though, unfortunately. Maybe there's something I can do, but I've got it all covered up, and it's just about ready to try to put another coat of clear on. If I could get that looking half decent again, I think this would work out all right. All right, so this is kind of the final product here. Unfortunately, in my opinion, it really doesn't look very good. I'll be completely honest, I didn't get all of the original protective coating off of there, the lamination or whatever. Definitely make sure that you do that if you're going to do what I just did, because I tried to just sand it down and smooth it out, and thought I could put clear over it, but when you put the clear on it, the original laminate gets like really gray colored. Now thankfully, after sitting for several hours, that kind of goes away, but I used a combination of 1200 grit sandpaper and the door panel plastic trim remover tools, and I kind of used the flat edges of one of those and just kind of scraped it off a little bit. Then I put some Goof Off on a rag, and I don't know if I sanded too much or if it was the Goof Off or what, but I'm very displeased with this little area here. However, I will say that, you know, from a slight distance, it doesn't look awful. It definitely doesn't have any of that chipping or peeling anymore. It has a halfway decent finish. I just don't think that I did a very good job of getting all of the old stuff off. But this is my daily driver, and I was just trying to kind of make it look a little bit better with a relatively quick turnaround. I wasn't really interested in, you know, messing with this for a week or anything and being, you know, door panel-less while I'm driving around at work. But this is kind of the final product. I would not recommend using Goof Off. You have a very thin layer between the original laminate and the wood coloring or whatever before you start sanding it off. So I don't know that I would necessarily recommend trying this unless it looks absolutely horrible. I don't know. I would say that it's actually slightly better than it was before. It's worse in some ways, but better in others. But at least it's not flaking and chipping off anymore. And I don't think that it'll be affected by water anymore. Because I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but that's like the main thing that was causing this to chip off of there, is when it got wet. So it should never have that problem again. But it's also discolored, and yeah, I just, you know, got some of that original laminate stuck in there. I'm going to try to get a pick or something and clean some of that out to the best of my ability. But it's either this, deal with this, or get a whole new door panel, because these, when you pop these wood panels out, you damage the wood and or the panel. So I don't think I'm going to try and do that. If I can find a new panel for under $500, maybe I'll get one of these days. But for now, this is kind of what the end product looks like. If you're interested in trying it yourself, you may be able to do a better job than I did, but this is just kind of what mine ended up looking like. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and put the panel back on, starting with these bottom connectors here. The blue obviously goes to blue. These are kind of in the camera angle there, sorry. Black goes to black, and then we've got a big gray one down here, plugs in here, and then we're going to line up all of our tabs and our push pins into all of their respective holes across the door. And we'll be right back. And once you got your panel back on, the first thing I like to do is put this Torx screw back in. That way it kind of holds it on right in the middle. Next, we're going to go ahead and put our 3 bottom screws back in. And we're going to tighten those up with a Phillips screwdriver. Next, we want to go ahead and put our door pull handle screws back in. Phillips as well. Now, we'll go ahead and put these covers back on. And yours may be in better condition than mine once again. Mine just kind of slide right into place for the most part without too much resistance. And they're loose, but they don't really come off either. Common problem on these cars. Now we're going to grab all of 4 of our connectors here, and we're going to go ahead and plug them into our window switch assembly. The white one here goes up front. That's for our mirrors. And then this green one is next, and that's for the locks. And then the blue and gray go in that order, blue and gray, and that's for our windows. Finally, once you got everything plugged in, you can push down on the clips there to lock that back into place. And finally, don't forget to put your little trim cover back on that covers up the screw, because these are like gold on these cars. And then once again, my clip is broken on mine, so I just have it held on with butyl tape. This tape is designed to be sticky enough to get put back on a second, third, fourth time, but not sticky enough that you'll never get it off again. So it works great on these. And then that's the whole panel back on. And this is kind of what that wood looks like. Really not too impressed with it, honestly. You can see a lot of imperfection. Really doesn't look the greatest, to be honest, but for now I'm just gonna have to deal with it and ride with it. I mean, from a few feet away it could look a hell of a lot worse. I've seen some that look even worse than that without having at least attempted to refinish it or whatever. So that is the final product. There's one final view in the car with a little bit of shadow. And then here's with some light. That's going to be the end of this one for today, guys. As usual, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned.